I need a 30 for 30 to show that I'm different like Jordan and Pippen. I need a 30 for 30 like Jalen and Webber. Nobody gon' fuck on my click. I need a 30 for 30. All right, America, I'm glad to have my brother Ray Caesar Leo here again for another one of his segments, Ray's Take. Caesar, what you got for the people this week?
Man, we're going to hit the NFL this week, man. It's one of those things where everybody gets excited about the draft, right? You know, everybody wants to talk about what their team's going to do, what other teams are going to do. But I caution you to not get your hopes up because if you root for a franchise that is historically bad at drafting, then this really isn't the moment that you're looking forward to. When you watch NFL drafts, we see about 5% of what the big deal is all about, right? You get excited about day trades, day of trades and things like that, but you don't see the homework that goes into it from the scouting department to GMs to coaches and what have you. Here's what great NFL franchises do when it comes to a draft, right? They realize what their weaknesses are, what their strengths are, and depending on where they are as a franchise, they can take more risk, right? So if you are historically the New England Patriots before Tom Brady left, you may be able to ignore some of your weak spots and strengthen up some of the things that you do well as a team, right? You have some teams though that are historically bad. And I'm just going to throw one out there, the New York Jets, who always seem to be in the top 10 of the draft. It doesn't matter where they draft, they're going to always screw it up. Because regardless of where they pick and what their needs are, they either pick the wrong need or they go with a want because they feel like they have a New England Patriots pedigree. So those kind of teams are going to screw it up. Here's what the great teams do, right? They know what their strengths and weaknesses are. They do homework. And what you're going to find out is how great your franchise is at homework, draft, and expectations, right? And things of that nature. Because what we've seen is in the pandemic, you hadn't had a lot of tape. I mean, there are guys that are going to get drafted, like Trey Lance, that have one game on tape for the most part and have a pro day. So you're going to find out what guys are worth when it comes to understanding what true potential is. Did you simply go by 40 times in verticals and bench press? Or are you going to dig a little bit deeper, right? Are you going to go to that young man's neighborhood and find out what kind of leader he is? Are you going to catch up with his high school coach, right? Are you going to catch up with his pastor? Whatever that looks like, there are teams that go the extra mile to figure it out. Here's another thing you're going to see teams do. Bad NFL franchises. They're going to say, oh, well, I want the next Patrick Mahomes, right? I want the next Aaron Rodgers. And so they're going to sell the farm to get up into that top 5 or 6 draft pick, and they're going to pick the wrong guy. Or they're going to pick the right guy, but he's not going to be that guy. He's going to be a serviceable quarterback, but you'll sell the farm, and that serviceable quarterback will have nobody to throw it to, right? All of these things are going to come into play in the next few weeks. My team is no different. The Dallas Cowboys are historically bad when it comes to picking in the Jerry Jones era. It only got right really for the last 5 to 6 year window. But you know what that took? It took him watching his quarterback get demolished before he realized I can have all the weapons in the world, but it don't mean a thing if I can't protect them, right? So I'll talk about more of that on next week when we actually get to draft week. But just to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about, as you look at this top 5 to 10 picks, you got teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, New York Jets, San Francisco 49ers. I know Joe and T, have hit on that ad nauseum. The Atlanta Falcons. Here's an example of what I mean. You'll find out what the Atlanta Falcons are truly made of at the 4th pick after a pandemic, right? Because everything in your brain tells you to move on from Matt Ryan. But somebody might say, well, Matt Ryan has 2 more years of being a good quarterback. And that's the truth. That is the truth. Matt Ryan can be a good, maybe even really good quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years. But what does that mean in the grand scheme of things of building your team if you truly believe that a guy like Lance, right, or Mac Jones, or whoever it might be that's available, you have the ability to start building towards the future. You'll find out what your team's priority is. You'll find out what your team thinks of a certain, star player on your team. All of it goes into account. It's one of my favorite parts of the year because you get to see the work being put in not so much real time, but you get to see it from start to finish what that looks like, man. It's my favorite time of the year. Sometimes hearts are broken in the draft. Sometimes guys go a little too far. I was guilty of that when I was younger. I would freak out, if the Cowboys didn't pick this guy, pick that guy. And then, man, you look back down the road and you're just like, the guy that I probably wanted as a fan wasn't the right guy. And the guy that I cared nothing about turned out to be the guy. I'll give you an example. When I got smarter, the whole thing was about Johnny Manziel, his rookie year, right? And I just begged and pleaded that Jerry Jones do not pick, Johnny Manziel. Well, at the end of the day, the Cowboys were starting to transition out of that Tony Romo phase. Hey, why not get a quarterback, right? You know who we ended up drafting that year? Zach Martin. All-pro offensive lineman, right? Not a sexy pick. You don't get excited about drafting offensive lineman in the first round unless you know the game, right? You draft the right offensive lineman, and for 10 years, you don't have to worry about a thing, right? The Indianapolis Colts did it with Quentin Nelson. They'll never have to worry about having lackluster play at their guard spot because Quentin Nelson will be an all-pro for the next 5 to 7 years. It's just the name of the game, man. Sometimes you need that level-headed guy to say, hey, I know that the young man from Florida, the tight end / receiver, whatever you want to call him, is an ultimate weapon. But it may not make sense to draft him if you can't give your quarterback time to get the ball to him. Yep. All of these things go into factor, man. So it'll be a really cool thing to see next week who's truly done their homework, who's attended pro days, who's looked through film from not 2020, but from 2019, 2018, 2016. We'll see who the big boys are when it comes to drafting. I feel like my team has gotten a little bit better at it. I don't know. We'll find out, though. We'll find out this year what the Cowboys are truly capable of. I think there are some really good teams out there. I think the 49ers do a really good job. I really do. I think the Green Bay Packers do a really good job. I think the New England Patriots do a really good job.
Green Bay.
They got to do a great job now that Tom Brady's gone. But like the Saints do a really good job. But then there are some teams who just screw it up, right? Historically, just screw it up. The New York Jets are probably going to draft Zach Wilson. But at the end of the day, it won't matter because unless this new regime with Coach Salah and his new staff that he's got, it won't matter because you'll just keep drafting bad picks and bad positions for things you don't truly need. So we'll find out what it looks like next week, man.
That's true.
Ray?
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the shout out for my Green Bay Packers.
Well, we're on the show, so we got to talk about our teams.
But you slick kind of reminded me of the fact that last year we took a quarterback in the first round.
Indeed.
And then my quarterback won the MVP this year.
That's big facts, and I agree. On the surface, that looks like a bad pick. But I think back to two things.
Okay.
I heard the great Dan Patrick say, who I'm a huge fan of. I heard the great Dan Patrick say, when you draft a quarterback, you don't just draft a quarterback, you draft your quarterback. And if it's not your quarterback, then you just don't draft them. You don't move up just to grab a quarterback because other people are grabbing them, or you feel like somebody got Patrick Mahomes, then somebody got Tua Tagovailoa and Deshaun Watson, whatever it looks like. You draft your quarterback that fits your culture, your locker room, your game plan, right? The Packers drafted Aaron Rodgers while they had Brett Favre. They drafted Jordan Love while they had Aaron Rodgers. What this leads to is you guys not having a quarterback problem for the last 25 years. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
I don't appreciate that, Joseph.
That's the long and short of it, and that's the reality. In the most important position in all of sports, the Green Bay Packers have figured it out. I don't know a thing about Jordan Love. Don't know. All I know is he can throw it hard and throw it far, right? But if the Green Bay Packers organization truly feel like that's their quarterback, then it doesn't matter if Aaron Rodgers won MVP this year or the Super Bowl, because they feel like he is closer to the end than the beginning. That's their philosophy. And more importantly, they have stuck to that philosophy for over 2 decades. That means that they have a template and a formula that works. That's what I mean by, like, what do great NFL franchises do? They stick to the game plan no matter what.
Yeah. America, if y'all don't notice, this brother is a glass half full man. He's a very optimistic person. That's why if you need a motivational speaker and you're not gonna
No.
you're not gonna get your boy First Letter, get my brother, because he's making me feel better about something I've been snapping about.
Right.
I've been snapping about that, but that makes me feel somewhat better.
On the contrary, I can see why you would be upset because you say I do have this MVP quarterback, right? Why can't we get him some tools to work with right now?
I needed a defender because these boys.
I agree.
These boys ran me out the field.
Okay, so
in the NFC Championship.
I agree that if you need somebody to speak up for you, we should. I want to put Ray to the test, though.
Yeah, okay.
The Packers selected a running back in the second round.
Yeah,
and then turn around and paid Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
running back money.
I thought you were changing speeds. I didn't know you were gonna get on the Packers again. I didn't know that.
Because you brought it up, it made me think about. Okay, they also took a running back.
Yeah.
Y'all just moved up. He just talked about guys moving up, and y'all finna end up with a Mac Jones or somebody. Look at you.
And I told you I would be highly pissed.
But you know what's crazy though? Like, and don't get me wrong, the first round is important. It's the first round for a reason, right? That's where the highest level of talent goes. But I tend to look the first round is one thing, it's for the excitement, it's for the hype, it's for the fandom. But the best franchises do their homework. And once you start getting into those third, fourth, fifth, sixth rounds, that's when you see the value of a franchise understanding what it is, right? I'm not going to say that Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones did, miracle work by finding Dak Prescott in the fourth round, but there is proof that they had followed his career. There is proof that they had film on him, right? They had brought him in for an interview. This is a guy that, this is a guy that nobody was ever going to say was going to be a first or second round pick, but they had done the due diligence to say, here it is, right? The Seattle Seahawks looked at Russell Wilson and said, if he's available in the later rounds, he may not be ready today, but this dude is going to be a stud, right? It just, you have to do the homework. There's so many instances in that. And listen, I'm doing those easy positions, right? Because I'm not anybody's front office, but it's one of those things where you can find diamond in the rough offensive linemen, because a lot of them aren't going to go in the first and second round. But you can find guys in the third and fourth round that can change your franchise by starting at left tackle, right tackle, anywhere on the O-line. And they'll make a huge impact on your franchise for years. Yeah. But you don't know that if you don't do the homework. So it's interesting to see like who gets caught up. The Oakland Raiders, or now the Las Vegas Raiders, are big into guys that run fast 40 times. Always have been. But does it translate? Not really. It doesn't. So every franchise has that philosophy, but what works for them? The tried and true franchises, they have a formula that they stick to, and you can see it happen when new GMs come in. The Saints have been doing it for a decade now. Yeah, they have the luxury of Drew Brees, but I'm telling you, Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis have been doing it for years.
Right. For a minute.
4 years. When Andy Reid shows up to Kansas City, it's no secret that his philosophy takes over and he starts drafting his kind of guys. You could say, not saying that Alex Smith was just this great quarterback, but they had a starting quarterback. What did they do? They said, if we get the opportunity to find our guy, we're going to trade up and go get Patrick Mahomes. And their franchise is now set for the next 10 to 15 years. That's homework, man. That wasn't a need.
Right.
But they decided that our value is going to be long-term with this first round pick. Then after that, we can go and start getting guys to contribute this year.
My kids wanted me to tell y'all to make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me across all social media platforms, like the videos, and share them. Did I forget anything?
And turn on the post notifications.
Y'all heard them. And also, visit Statement Tees, LLC.com, and shop with us. That's Statement Tees. Every t-shirt you wear
makes a statement.